welcome to The Art of Adventure. This is episode 224 with Estela Kun. The Art of Adventure is the podcast that helps you travel the world, run your business, and embark on an epic quest. I'm your host, lead explorer and guide, Derek Loudermilk. I'm pleased to announce, I've been announcing this for a while, I'm pleased to announce Superconductors is now available in the UK and Europe. You can find it in bookstores and at the airport, which is super cool. The US launch for you US listeners is July 28th. We're having a book launch party on July 27th, Friday night. So if you want to come to St. Louis, or if you already are in St. Louis, come to the Next Core co-working space, Friday the 27th, and look around and you'll see our launch party. That's how they used to do it in the old days. You used to just tell people to be somewhere and then just hope that people would show up because we didn't have phones. I was talking about it the other day. In high school, you just hope that your friend is going to meet you at the time and place that you say. Anyway, today's episode is featuring my good friend Estela Kun, and she is the founder, or one of the founding members of the team that puts on Freedom X Fest. And if you've been listening to this show, you know that we were in Budapest, Hungary last year for the inaugural Freedom X Fest. We actually went, we moved to Hungary. We didn't really know where we were going to go, and we moved there for a couple of months just to participate in this event. So I'm a big supporter of the event. And we've talked a little bit about that on the podcast last year, and we talked to it recently in John Abbott's episode when I interviewed him about the giving model. But today, Estela's on the show, and we're going to go a little bit deeper in the behind the scenes of running this event. So this year, it's actually not in Hungary. It's going to be in the Pyrenees in Spain. They have an entire village that they're taking over for this event. So it should be pretty exclusive, pretty epic. And while we've talked about running different trips, different retreats, adventure trips before, we've never looked at such a large scale event and what it takes to have a globally dispersed team to put together this type of event. So today, Estela is going to take us through both how she manages herself, how she manages the stress around running one of these events, because people are always, they're like, hey, I have a question for you. Can you do something for me? If you're organizing something, there's always more to do. It's never quite finished. So it can be quite stressful. So how does Estela manage this stress? And then how does the team work? How do they communicate? How do they actually get stuff done so that this thing comes off? Because they're having hundreds, 500 to 1,000 people there. The team is more than 25 people in lots of countries and time zones all over the world. So it's quite an unwieldy type of process. And of course, we also are going to talk about the philosophy of this type of event, an event catering to digital nomads and freedom and looking at the future of work and what is the overall impact of society from digital nomads and these thought leaders and people that are on the cutting edge of work. Those are the types of people that are going to be at this event, and what types of outcomes do we expect from that? So without further ado, I know you're going to love this episode with Estela Kun. Welcome back to The Art of Adventure. I'm here today with my good friend Estela Kun. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey Derek, lovely to be here.
And this is super cool because you are in Hungary now, but we're friends from Bali. But you're at your family's lake house, which you let us stay in last year.
Yeah, it's quite funny. I think you know how it's like here. You can see also in the pictures that unfortunately not everyone can see. But yeah, it's been really cool to be back in the old lake house of my family.
How old is that lake house? It's pretty old, right?
Yeah, I think it's like 150 years old or so, maybe even more.
And so this part of Hungary, Lake Balaton, is like, because Hungary is in Central Europe, that you don't have the Mediterranean to go, everyone goes out to the lake, right? For their summer holidays. So
but it's the Hungarian Sea, I guess.
The Hungarian Sea. And we had this great experience where we rented bikes and we biked along the lakefront up to there's like a peninsula. There's just a monastery up there overlooking the whole lake. It's called
Tihan.
Tihan, which for those that don't speak Hungarian, there's a Y on the end of that word, Tihany, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I tried to learn Hungarian with Duolingo, but I gave up after a few weeks.
Yeah, people say that this is probably one of the hardest language in Europe. That it takes some people say 5 to 6 years to properly learn Hungarian.
Oh wow!
So I can understand if you've given up on after a month or so.
Someone explained to me they travel more than I do, and they said it's easier just to learn sort of body language and miming things to be able to order food than it is to learn a language in every single country that you go through. It's sort of the global communication is body language.
Yeah, well, I guess that it's going to shift with I don't know if you heard about this Babel that's coming out, this little earplug that people can put in and then it translates in real time.
Oh, I've been waiting for that.
People speak that. Yeah, I think so. It's coming out this year, hopefully.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, wow. And, some people really love learning languages, but if you don't need that bandwidth, you can always learn something else. Interesting. There's plenty to learn. So let's talk about, well, first of all, actually, Estela, you and I have known each other for, I don't know, three or 4 years, met at the co-working space in Bali. But I recently met someone that's a mutual connection, that Deborah, who said that, who told me you got an MBA in London, which I didn't know about you.
Oh, was it an MBA? No, I didn't know that either.
Oh, sorry.
I think I did get a BA, just a normal degree.
So you went to school in London. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did 3 years in London and then I finished in France.
Wow. And
in between I did Mexico.
Okay. Also studying in Mexico?
Yeah, because I just really like everything that's unconventional. So I kind of took my studies from London and did 1 year in Mexico doing some filming and documentary and just submitting course assignments and stuff from there. And yeah, I just always like doing something different, that how normally you could do a degree. And yeah, I did graduate from Mexico actually to London University. So that was kind of funny.
Cool. So I want to establish sort of your background, how you became a digital nomad. Was that something you had ever heard about or considered in university? Yes,
I think that the first most memorable or the most insightful experience that I had at uni, I think it was 2007 or so, and I had a class on called Anthropology of Cyberspace, because I was studying anthropology and art, and there was this course called Anthropology of Cyberspace, and I was just so fascinated. I didn't know that I'm going to be learning about the aliens or different communities, what's going to happen there. And, then this professor was setting up the class, the whole curriculum was around studying the internet and studying different communities online and different interactions, social interactions between people. And then in the second half of the year, we had an assignment to do an online enterprise, something that can create positive change in the world using the internet. And for me, that was just oh my goodness, that was so inspiring. And that's when I really got hooked on the idea of, being able to travel, live in different places, experience different cultures, learn from different people. And then something that, we can also create communication, communities, businesses, all that online. And and tapping into this global network. So that's really where, my whole fascination for this lifestyle started. But then it was a good few years while I started and I learned about this whole digital nomads even exist. That was 2014, like 6 years later, when I became aware.
So, okay, so we discovered digital nomadism about the same time, because I think 2014 was when I left to Vietnam for the first time, and then we ran into each other probably 2015 in Ubud. Have you been working on similar projects? Like, is there a theme that's been running through your digital nomad lifestyle this whole time?
Yeah, I guess like one of the things that is, I guess, constantly running through whatever I do is being curious and kind of like stretching boundaries. So I've been involved in different type of businesses and did a lot of different things. And I guess that being a digital nomad, the best thing is that you constantly have to learn. Like even if you are doing web development, and you constantly have to be improving yourself. And for me, that's been an experience. So being a digital nomad, like for many years it was just a tool for being able to be curious, be able to stretch my boundaries, inquire about new things, places, projects, people, and then kind of puzzling them together without, having the same framework or the same business all the time. It's constantly, improving and evolving and changing. But that thread of, stretching boundaries and seeing what else is possible and using my knowledge that I had to build more things on it, and then kind of, to get more deep into stuff or to create a new model or the new business. And that's what's really been the same kind of, learning experience.
So this year you're hosting a larger version of Freedom X Fest, which is why I came to Hungary in the first place last year for the initial one. And so maybe you could talk about the evolution of the first festival in Hungary, then into this year's festival in Spain. You're moving countries. It's sort of a bigger event. And for the listener, if you go back and listen to the interview with John Abbott, who is Estela's partner, several episodes ago, we were talking about this festival, and it's so now several months later, you'll be getting information from Estela. So it's kind of like an updated timeline of this event, and it's such a huge event that I think it's cool to see it from different angles. So that was a lot there. But if you could talk about sort of last year to this year of the Freedom X Fest.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and actually, I would add that to Derek, that I remember that the first time when we started to, when we did things together was in 2016, I think, when I ran the Freedom Summit. And that was actually like the beginning of the live events. So the Freedom Summit was the first online virtual summit that we did. And you had an amazing interview. I remember that was so insightful and so much learning. And that whole summit idea was just really, interesting for many people, and people wanted to meet in real life as well. So that's why we had the idea to set up the first Freedom X Fest in Budapest last year.
So you had feedback from the online summit that they wanted to get together in person.
Yeah, it maybe it wasn't like, exactly like I want to get together in person, but it was just so many like questions and inquiries from people, and people really enjoy the content. But what you can give online in 1 hour, it's great. Like you can learn things, but it's really different than when you try it out in real life. You do a workshop, you get together with different people, you meet, the speakers, you interact, and that was really the idea for. The summit was great, and after we rolled on with another group, like another 30 or 40 people was in a group, and we were working together and developing ideas. But still, there was a bit of a not disconnect, but just distant, because everyone was in different countries and different places. So actually, I was on a yoga class in Bali a few months after the summit, and I was going back to Europe for the summer, and I just kind of had this idea inside. What if we, put together a festival, like a live festival, where we can be having all these people come together and actually do real workshops. And that's how it all started. So I had the idea maybe in May, and we pulled up the whole event in about 3 months. That was relatively like small amount of time, but it was really, really cool. And your staff and lots of amazing friends from Bali came over. That was really just made the event so much more special. It was more angled towards Hungarian audience. We were maybe 80 or 70% Hungarians and 20 or 30% foreigners and people coming from different places in Bali, in Europe, and also a few from Bali. And it was a 2 days event with about 250 people in a really cool venue. The venue was really great, but it was indoors. It was more like a conference, kind of like a cool conference workshop type of event. And that's when we had the idea that if we can take this whole event outside. And that's what we really like, what I feel really inspired about this year, that we are taking the whole event to Spain, to Pyrenees Mountains up in a remote village, 1.5 hours from Barcelona. There's a small village that's owned by a local family, and they renovated the whole place with beautiful 12 country houses and huge 250 hectares of land. They have a few animals, they have swimming pool and lakes, and just it looks incredible. I haven't been there in person. I just saw videos and a few of the team members that they've been to the location, and that's really exciting. So I just feel that coming together online is great. Being able to come together in a workshop, it's even better. But then, having a whole festival for 6 days when people stay there and sleep there, and we have bonfires, we have talks, workshops during the day, we have music and different interactions in the evening, just really creates a different atmosphere and a more personal connections that people, in a festival, people are just easy and cool and relaxed and able to really converse and to connect. So we kind of want to break down the barriers between, in a conference, you go to a conference, there's a speaker, you listen to the speaker, great, you take some notes, and then, you go home and there's a bit of a distance. And I think that what we are playing around is the idea that how we can come together more, more close and share from a more personal space and just create more interaction and more synergies within this whole new space of location independence.
Yeah, I think everybody had an amazing time, right? Live interaction, real people. This is some of the most important and valuable types of businesses that give people experiences. I have so many questions, but let's see. Well, when you decided to take it outside, how did you start looking for a place to host it? Because obviously Spain is not your home country. How did you even find that location?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, first we were thinking about to host it in Budapest or in Hungary. And then, I don't know if you know Stuart from Co-Vacation. He's been doing a lot of events and a lot of great work in Spain, as well as worldwide, that they are running different co-vacation programs. And so he's been a friend, I've been knowing him probably as long as I know you, Derek. And we just had a conversation. So he was one of the first partners or the first people that I reached out to, saying that, hey, Stu, we are going to be setting up this festival in Budapest. Would you be interested to join as a partner and, do things together? And he was just really interested of why don't we do it in Spain? Because he already had this amazing remote village that he's been wanting to put together an event for years. So that just seemed like a really a synchronistic alignment. It was just really easy choice. We were not looking for anything. We were not, we had no idea, no expectation to go outside of Hungary, but because he already knew the space and everything was already kind of set up there, it was a pretty easy choice. It took us a few weeks to kind of consider a few things and logistics, because obviously there is a lot that goes into setting up a festival, and still that we have the village and the space is amazing. We have, the houses and kitchens and a lot of things available, but we still need to set up a few other stages and just additional things that, require a bit of planning and making it happen. So yeah, it's been a real it's been a real journey. That how the whole Freedom X Fest 2018 is actually coming together with collaboration with co-location. So we partnered up and we are doing the whole event together.
Oh, cool. And I think it's really great to highlight how the right connection to the right person who already, Stuart already had in his mind this location, and if you didn't know him, you would have never been able to tap into that. And so it's these in-person connections, our friendships and relationships, that lead us to the opportunities. And I just see it. You have to start talking about what you want to do, and then people can share their insights to help you along the way.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a good, like, for me, it's been one of the biggest lessons, like, throughout the last few years. It's just, being able to ask and say, because we all have ideas, but then when we can ask a friend or say that, hey, I've been thinking doing this, what do you think? Then suddenly all these opportunities become, present, and we can actually, do something about them, and we can start like creating together. And that's really, like, it's so valuable lesson of being able to having an idea, sharing it with friends and with people, and then it becomes much more easy to go forward.
What are some of the things that you learned from the first event that, like, what went really well that you are using in this event, and what didn't go well that you're sort of moving away from?
Yeah, so the first event was really, I didn't really have expectations because I didn't know what does it take to set up an event. One of the best learning was definitely creating that really beautiful flow experience, and kind of this ease, grace, and flow that I can't really put into words. But basically what my experience was that, usually setting up events can also get stressful. And sometimes we did go through like periods when, you feel stressed and there's like so much more to do, and, and you're just kind of like getting closer and there's a lot more to do and all that kind of stuff. And then I remember that with the team, like we have an amazing team. We just decided to take a day off, and to actually, before the event, the last few days before the event, we didn't actually spend on the computers, or we didn't do stuff. We just went out to one of our friends' house with like a nice swimming pool. We had a like really cool barbecue or like some picnic, and just spent time in nature, and we were just like really enjoying ourselves. And that really shifted the whole experience, because when we got to the event, then I didn't feel stressed at all. I just felt everything just happened and flew like so easily. And that, for me, that was the best experience, like just having that, that flow and no stress environment. That was amazing. And that's something that I didn't know if it's possible. I didn't really know like what does it take to set up an event, but it felt really good. And yeah, I really remember that was a great learning. And actually, that's something that now we are doing a lot more. So we're doing a lot more kind of like retreats, like taking the whole weekend off with the team. Even next weekend, I think we're going to have quite a few people from the team coming over to the lake house, and we just take like 3 or 4 days. We do some brainstorming, we do, some work, but we are spending more time in nature. We are, really enjoying this freedom lifestyle. And I think that's, for me, that's the biggest learning, to be able to, to create these projects and create businesses that support us and makes us feel happy. And we are not doing it because we need to reach something, or there's a drive and stress and all that kind of stuff that used to drive me. But instead, just, having a good time and actually spending time together. And that's been really, really cool. It's really like having a good impact on me, I think.
Is it ever a challenge for you to, because right before an event, oh my gosh, this thing is coming up, I want to make sure it's perfect. Was it hard to hit pause and go relax with the team? How do you do that?
Yeah, so it's not easy, because I think, and especially like myself, like I'm really wired to this work hard ethic. Like, I'm really like, I grew up in a culture where, you have to push and do and work hard, and you have to do a lot, and you have to do more in order to thrive and all that stuff. So for me, it's been really like it's been challenging to learn that I don't need to do that. But the more that I let go and the more that I surrender, and I'm actually enjoying myself, everything that happens becomes easy. So, for example, I could have like run around and trying to get the best location and all that kind of stuff, spending hours and days and weeks, and instead of just like relaxing and having a good chat with Stuart, and the location just appeared, like, let's say, and I often have these experiences within a lot of different things. For example, if we have a campaign and I'm really stressed and I'm sending all these emails and messages, and and the more that I get into the stress, the more of that stress I attract. So sometimes that in the stress, the website breaks down, someone else calls me like, oh, that one's not working, and I'm just keep finding more and more things that just become stressful. And recently I've been learning to, every time that I feel stressed, then I actually close the computer and I step away from it and I don't do any work on it, because I know that me buying into the stress is going to bring more of it to me. And me closing the computer and taking some time out, and sometimes just even half an hour, do something else, do some yoga, do meditation, move a bit, and then get back to the computer. And sometimes, and it's solved. Like so many times it happened that I would get really like, oh my God, like something is not working. And then I close the computer, half an hour later I come back and someone from the team just solved it. And, and then that's when it becomes easy. And I think it's like almost like for me, it's a new like mindset that I have to implement and nurture and keep creating into a new habit in order to be able to live from this, more easy place. And I believe that on the long run, the more calm and the more peaceful and the more easy I become in the things that I do, the more of that I attract. So it becomes easier to actually set up something. And I really felt like on the first Freedom X in Budapest, I really felt that, that aspect of the event, that if we go into the event with stress, then we would have just found so much more things, that something doesn't work, the microphone's out, or just lots of problems. But because we went into the event with just really easy and we want to do our best, we are prepared, it's going to be amazing, but we want to enjoy it. That's why the whole event was enjoyable, not just for the participants, but for everyone and for the team. And I think that that's really important, because personally, I feel that, especially running like freedom lifestyle and freedom businesses and everything that I'm talking about, I want to live it. Like I want to create freedom in my life in order to be happy and to enjoy life, not to do more work for myself. You know what I mean? So that's, for me, that's the biggest kind of shift and change that I'm personally going through for quite a long time now. It's been taking me over a year to shifting my mindset, and I'm getting closer. I'm still not there 100%, but I'm doing it and trying it every day, and it's working. Like I have to say that looking back in the last year, it's working like really, really great.
I think a lot of people can probably identify with that feeling of needing to work really hard, of I need to make 100 phone calls this week to hit my sales quota, or I see it all around in the co-working space here in the States that I've just joined. It's people are talking about the hustle and the hard work, and it's such an ingrained philosophy of sort of entrepreneurship and business, like just out hustle everyone. And at a certain point, you're not going to be able to out hustle some highly motivated person. Especially there's millions and billions of people in the developing world who are more motivated than I am, because they're making $2 a day and they want to be making $10 a day, and it can change their life so much. So they're going to work 20 hours a day, and there's no way I can outwork these millions of people. So it comes down to making things be easy and doing really good work. So I think it's a fascinating thing you've brought up. So the trigger for you is when you feel stressed, you close down the computer. Are there any times that you weren't able to stop the sort of the feeling of working hard and you just like kept pushing? And so what's the difference between when you're actually able to make things easy versus when they continue to be hard, if that makes sense?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like I'm totally honest saying that even today, I had that little dialogue with myself on I still have that drive. I still have that, angst that, oh my God, like I have to do all this, and I'm looking on my to-do list, and that hard, like pressuring feeling. I still have that. It's just, I guess, that how I respond to it. And one is that, I learned to I just learned to be okay with, I don't need to buy into that reaction mode, because I think that what the issue is that when we feel stressed, then suddenly you feel you want to react to it. And that reaction is often not the best thing that you can do. So even if you just pause for like 2 or 3 minutes, then, you may have a better idea, or you may have a better reply to the person that you're talking with. Or if you're on a sales call, maybe you become more present to the person and you actually start to understand them, and not coming from like a pushy sales angle, but you actually there as a human being. So I think it's like, for me, it definitely what helps is meditation and mindfulness, but having that space in between, like reacting to things and just, buying into it, versus just containing the energy, just pausing for a second, evaluating if that's the right thing to do, and then kind of going from that space. I think that's what really makes a difference.
And I think it can be somewhat addictive and exciting when lots of people are asking you lots of questions, like, help me, emails are coming in, fires to put out, and then you're like, you're shooting off email responses and fixing things, and it's like, wow, I'm really pulling the strings, I'm really controlling things. But all day, it's like everyone else is needing something from you, and you're responding in this sort of reactive mode that you're talking about. And then you're
and
like,
there's always more to do. It never ends.
Exactly. Wow. So that's a really, I think it's a really great that we hit on this. Let's talk a little bit about what kind of team it takes to put on an event of this magnitude. First of all, how many? It's 6 days in the Pyrenees. How many people are expected to attend? How many people are on the team to create the event?
So originally we said that the capacity of the space and the event is 1,000 people for this first year. Let's see. I'm not attached to numbers. I think most important is that we have a really good time and really enjoy the event. I think we're gonna be about like up to like 500 people, like that. I think that's like probably the most like manageable and like easy size for the first year. And I don't know exactly the number of people, obviously, that we still have like 6 weeks, so I don't know exactly the number of people who's coming and the volunteers and stuff. We have about 30 people, 27 people on the team. We are working remotely from different countries and continents. From the 27 people, there are people who are more active. So we have, let's say, like 12 or 13 people, the core team, who are really active, like on a daily basis. And then there are people who are involved with different initiatives. So, for example, 2 guys are running like a green initiative, and they are taking care of like more the sustainable aspect of the event, because we're going to be outside in nature, so we want to make sure that we create as low waste as possible, and we recycle, and we just do the event more eco-conscious as possible. So, for example, they are doing that, and so we have different people taking different initiatives and different parts of the event. And then there's going to be quite a few, I think up to like 50 or 100 volunteers being on site, because 6 days, and it's a pretty big location. So we have different stages, and it's a village. So we almost have like different camp areas, different stages, different areas. And obviously we're going to need a lot of, just people supporting that it goes really well and easy. We are really lucky. Like, I have to say that without this amazing team, like, we wouldn't be able to do what we are doing. We are all really, motivated and driven to create basically by the same values. So all of us are, striving to, like, most of us are location dependent, or many of the team members are wanting to be location dependent. And, this is a kind of like the first step for them into this new lifestyle. And we are all really, flexible. We have great communication. I think that that's what's really important in, with this team and just like normally just working remotely is having really good and clear and direct communication channels and really clear, organizational stuff, because everyone's working on different time zones, on different continents. So we can't synchronize that everyone's online all the time. It's a very fluid working method. So every week we have a meeting, but otherwise everyone, does the things that they need to do on the hours and on the time zones that they are available. And then there's just like a fluent kind of like constant communication in between people. And there's a lot of inspiration. So that's another aspect that I really love, that we can be working this way, is that we all creating, we all bring in new ideas and, just new ideas, new inspiration. And then basically we have a whole team of people to support one another to make it happen. That's, I think it's really good, and it's really creates a fun environment. And we all have really similar kind of, work modes and ethics, and it's really easy basically to be communicating with everyone in the team. And then always, like, we are really looking forward to meet each other in real life, because many of the team members never met in person. I have quite a few people that I've never met in real person before.
That's interesting.
So in Spain, that's going to be the first time when we're going to be actually coming together at the event itself. That's a nice thing to kind of keep looking forward, and everyone's driving towards that goal, and that's really, really cool.
And are you, I consider this to be your event, but there's lots of other people who are putting on the event. I guess I'm wondering, what's the decision-making process / is there a chain of command, or is it, how do you make decisions? Is it like a standard pyramid, or what's the organization structured like?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Actually, we're experimenting a lot with new kind of organizational structure, and what is the most ideal that could fit, this model. Because the old kind of pyramid scheme, that you have one person on the top and tells what to do, and then everyone's doing what they need to do, it doesn't work anymore. And it's especially in a festival or for this kind of environment, those structures just doesn't work. And also everyone who's working on a project together with us is the most important value is freedom. So everyone's just so wanting to be free, and basically we are not coming together to put new rules on each other. So that's something that we have to keep really important. And what does work is that we have a leadership team. So we have a few most important, or let's say responsible areas that certain people are responsible for, and then we make decisions within that. And then depending on the responsibility level, so basically what we like to create is that every individual who is taking a role or responsibility in the team and says that I'm going to be doing this, then they get total ownership over that area. And basically they have access to all the resources and support and everything from the team, but it's their lead that's going to make that successful, or it's going to make it fair. And I don't think that there's failure or success, but there's experiences. and some of the team members are really driven, and they come in, they take an area and they just make it happen, and and they just create amazing things. And there are also the other team members who may be really motivated at the beginning, but then they get a bit not sure how to do that, or maybe they have other priorities, and then it doesn't happen. But it doesn't affect the project as a whole, because we have like really strong, like the core foundations of the project that needs to be done, and then everything else is like an extra opportunity, I would say. And and we would love, and we are giving like full opportunities for anyone, to not anyone, but to people who want to show up and like lead an area and to create something within that. But then it's also not a must, and if someone doesn't bring it through and it fails, then it doesn't affect the whole project. It just becomes like a really organic growth, and it's basically like a really people driven growth, and everyone's taking out as much as they put in. So it's not a hierarchy structure, or it's not a pyramid or any of that. I would more say it's like a fluid, kind of like a flat management system. It's like a circle. Like, let's say if someone comes into the team, like I just say the same example that it's easy. For example, Josh from South Africa, he got really excited about, he wants to promote this green initiative within the festival, because it's very important for him and for this environmental like consciousness, that what we bring to the festival. And it's great. So he comes into the team, and he also builds up like a small team of people who are dealing with that side. They get their own channel, they get their own communication, and then whatever they produce, we link it to the event. And obviously we give a lot of support, and and that's how we can make it stronger. But it takes that team to actually drive it forward, because we don't have capacity to be doing and thinking about everything. And the more people motivated, and I also feel that if someone really does what they love doing, then it becomes effortless. So for him to actually bring in this whole green stuff, it's really easy, because that's what he lives and breathes, and he's just so excited about it. For me, I'm really excited about it, but for me it would take a little bit longer to do, because that's not my background that much. But for example, for me, communication and marketing is easier, so that's what I'm doing. And then if everyone's doing what they are the best at, then we don't have to give orders to each other who's doing what. Everyone just feels and knows what they want to be driving, and they drive that. And then we support it as a community, or as a group, that makes it much more effective and just easy for that person to actually execute.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of solopreneur digital nomads who are starting to get bored with being solopreneurs and want to be part of teams. And what I think we'll start seeing is lots of solopreneurs who do the similar things start aggregating around the things that they really love. And I think this event is kind of a early example of that, where there's so many people with similar ideas and passions, and freedom is this unifying theme. Well, let's instead of having a bunch of small little events, like let's come together and create one larger thing. And so I think even the landscape of location independence is evolving.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's why it's so interesting. And I also feel that, like once we talk about this more freedom lifestyle and this more, just free way to set up businesses and projects, everything, and it's more fluid. So, most of the people on the team have various different businesses, and we don't have to be just doing one thing, get a salary paycheck, and and then go home, and then that's it. But we can be contributing in different projects and giving value in different places, that actually fuels and also a lot of learning that occurs, like working together with different people that people take back to their other businesses. And it's exactly what you were saying, that like I used to be also like traveling and working alone, and I know that how just exhausting it becomes when you have to motivate yourself every day to wake up and to do the thing that you committed to, and I, like, personally, I couldn't do it on my own. I burned out. I pushed, but I just, I couldn't function by myself. And then as I started to integrate with different groups and teams, and we started to grow things together, that's when it became easy, because some person can have like a super motivated day and someone can have a low. But if you have 30 people, then it doesn't matter. And if you have a, like a day that you are not so sharp, or you are not taking on whatever, but then you have another, 15 people to reach out and say that, hey, can you pop up on that meeting for me? Or, can you give me a hand with this? Or, and then it becomes like a much more like easy venture. And it's also more fun, because, we can be happy for successes together. We can be looking for solutions for problems together. We can still, we can do like their co-vacations and retreats and brainstormings. And yeah, it just becomes more easy. I think as human beings, we all want to be in a community, like in a group, and that's how we can function even better or more effortless. And that's definitely with these remote team environments. I think it's really interesting, because people doesn't even have to be in the same city in order to collaborate. People can work across any time zone, any continent. There's no more excuse for not being able to collaborate. You know what I mean?
What's the, as this has evolved from an online summit to an event in Budapest and an event in Spain, what will it take for this to be sustainable, profitable, to be able to continue? And, well, first of all, is it something that you want to continue? And then what would it take for it to be sustainable?
Yeah, I think, this is it's a really good question. And obviously that, we have the intention of creating something of value that, carries on and lives on. And what is really interesting is that this whole event kind of started from an idea without, having really clear like where it can go, but kind of going with the flow and discovering new things and, new opportunities. And like what I see now is that one of the most important, thing of the event, that many of the amazing partners, amazing different tribes, amazing people coming together for the festival, because there are lots of small businesses or, larger businesses, initiatives, as you said, lots of different individuals and different things around the world, that people doing it a little bit alone. And the idea of creating a festival where we can come together and discuss that what location independence is about, what the future of work looks like what direction we have. Basically, this is going to be, the festival is going to be like a melting pot of synergy between different businesses and different, partnerships can born and collaborations. And I think that that's what's going to get really interesting. And basically, we have to all see that, obviously, that, where it takes us. But I think that what would be something really beautiful to see is having these different tribes or different communities coming together with the larger event. So, for example, we have remote year. I don't know if many of the audience knows about remote year. So, for example, remote year, setting up a campground and co-pas. There's different companies coming in to set up their own campground with people to come together for that 6 days, and also collaborating to the larger event. And I think that that's how we can create like a more sustainable flow within this whole location-independent industry and scene, where we can have, obviously we have lots of small events throughout the year, but then once a year having a bigger festival where you have these different companies and different tribes coming together, representing what they do the best, and allow the kind of like the synergy and the merging in between the industries. So what I find really interesting is, for example, digital nomadism, as we talked about, Derek, like 4 or 5 years ago. That's when the whole term started to take shape. And now you have like millions of people possibly being or wanting to be digital nomads. And that's great. But digital nomadism doesn't suit the needs of everyone, because maybe someone, with a like wanting to be more location based and actually having a like a job that doesn't travel across everywhere but can be worked from home, and staying more time with family and kids. That also it's considered location dependence. So there's a lot of different players and different type of future of work possibilities that emerge, and I think that FreedomX can be like a merging ground of all these different things that come up to discuss, to meet, to connect, to see that how we can shape each other, and I think that that's what I really see like as a future, that like a really good potential is really having people to host their own stages, their own areas, and really teach about what they know the best. So, for example, people coming and talking about digital nomadism, great. There's another group coming and talking about remote companies and remote workforce, great. There's different people talking about co-working spaces and the way that how people can work from those offices, that's great. And each of them have something in relevance, but they are slightly bit different, and maybe people also looking for different aspect of location dependence in different stages of their lives. So I think it's really interesting to kind of have all that merged together in this like educational festival that can, for the future, I would also love to see this whole festival to be open for youth and kids, and to be like more an educational ground that we talk about, the future of work, not just for ourselves and for our generation, but also for, the future generations that to come, because there's so much more that's going to come through in the next 20, 30, whatever years, and we're just scratching the surface right now.
And what do you think, let's say the people at this festival are sort of the early adopters still. What is the impact or the influence that current digital nomads and location independent entrepreneurs can have on sort of larger culture as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's huge. And that's what really like motivates me, or that's what really drives me, because like having this lifestyle for ourselves, it's great. And that's something, for example, I always wanted to live this freely and travel and work and do my stuff. And, I managed to create it in 10 some years, which is great. And, I have all these friends who are also, doing this, and that's even better. But now I'm thinking about like, just even coming back to Hungary and spending some time here with my family and having conversations with people. And, it's just like seeing that more industrial way of industrial education and work environments, like they are really clumsy and they don't really like function, that fluid and that fast as this new era would require it. And because of the change of technology, like people just travel more, and we have everything available online on the internet, like it's an information age. So basically we need new tools and new practices and new ways of living in this time. We can't be living on something that was created 100 or 150 years ago. Those factories and the way that how life was structured then was great, because it was really serving like a great evolution of humankind. But now it's like a new era that's coming, and it doesn't mean, and usually John says that, and I totally agree with him, that it doesn't mean that it's for everyone. It doesn't mean that everyone's going to be shifting to be a digital nomad or location dependent and all that. But I think that it's more work that's going to be available in that way. There's going to be more companies adopting new practices, giving more independency for people. There's going to be lots of individuals who can just. We also realize that a lot of the things that we are doing now, it actually can be done by machines and can be done by robots. So actually human thing is not going to be so required for processing data and lots of things that now you have people working in like in big offices day after day, but that's something that can be automated maybe in the next few years. So there's going to be a lot of different shifts and changes, and I think we don't really know, or personally I can't say that I know what's going to come. Like I think it's really interesting to have conversations of what is possible, and see new trends, and to see that how it can apply to society in a way that it creates more well-being for people, it creates more ease, like we can reduce stress. For example, stress was not a thing 100 or 200 years ago. Stress became a thing in the industrial era, and now we all live that if it's something that would be normal, but actually it's not. So I would love to see that in 20 years or 30 years from now, like stress not going to be like a main ruling factor of work, but it's going to be more like enjoyment or more meaning and impact that what we can create with what we actually do in life. But those are all like my kind of ideas, and having these conversations with people, driving new initiatives. It's really interesting because we just get ideas what is possible, but I do believe that basically we are shaping the future, and by coming together, by having these discussions, by creating events, by creating new businesses and actually putting them in practice, that's how this new way is going to be evolving and created. So it's actually up to us what the future is going to look like.
That's very I'm excited. That's it feels just the way you're framing it, like what's possible. My brain is already like trying to like chew on that question, like, oh, what is possible? What if there was no stress? Like, I think it's a great foundational place, is just, like you said in the beginning, approaching it with curiosity and seeing what we can create. I'm really excited, and Estela, I just want to acknowledge you for throughout the years of you testing these different events, of promoting people with good ideas and bringing teams together. I think that you really are showing lots of people what's possible, and I'm really pleased that you're out there doing all this, and I want to acknowledge you for your efforts over the years.
Yeah, thank you so much, Derek, and thank you as well for participating from the beginning, pretty much, in the first Freedom Summit, in the first festival and all that, because it is challenging to be kind of like standing up for something new and starting that. But I think that just having basically being together with so many amazing people, it's easier, and that's how we fuel each other with ideas and inspiration. And I just love every time that we meet, and I see what you're doing and what Jonas is doing, and all the different people that we've been together. Like, that's really what makes a difference, and it makes it much more fun as well for us to keep playing with these new ideas and seeing what else is possible.
Brilliant. Estela, where can people find you and the event online?
Yeah, so we have the festival is available on freedomxfest.com. And then we also have a platform that's newly launching. It's freedomexperience.online. And there we have different interviews and different live conversations and things available with people about exactly those kind of questions, like what location dependence is, where we're going in the future, how it's going to look like, and all those kind of subjects.
Great. So thanks so much for coming on the show. Great to catch up with you, and good luck. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to make it to the event, but I know it's going to be awesome. So
yeah, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to see each other pretty soon at another one or in Bali.
Yes, you never know. All right, Estela, talk to you soon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye. Okay, amazing episode with Estela. There's this really important part, and I'm really glad that we touched on this, is what she does as a person, as an entrepreneur, to not get stressed out. And this is a really high level skill that I've been working on, and I've been working with my clients on, is getting out of this reaction mode. And it's kind of like being resilient. Like if someone rejects you, if you offer to sell them something and they say no, it's like, oh, and then you have this thing. But there's this even finer point where if you are in reactive mode, you're not looking for opportunities, but you're focusing on obstacles, and you're not able to create the same amount of abundance and choice and freedom and opportunity when you are stuck responding to obstacles. So it's managing your own state and managing your own focus is really important. And I'm glad Estela talked us through that process of someone who's actively in the middle of working on that. And you can tell, and she was on video when we were doing this call, and I could physically see that she was more relaxed than normal, even though she's in the middle of putting on this huge international event. So think about that. If you really want to be super high level and successful, if you want to be the type of person that can organize an event like this or run a multi six-figure or seven-figure company, being able to manage your own internal state like Estela is really key. I also really loved how different people, different groups within the larger organizational team were focusing on different aspects, and just basically finding the sort of the low energy, sorry, not the low energy, but like what brings people energy and makes the path of least resistance. So for different people, so everybody gets to work on the thing that is easiest for them, and you'll find so much more productive output when you can get people working on stuff that they're really excited about. Of course, duh. But a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we try to work on everything, including the stuff that we're not that good at and the stuff that we're not that excited about. So when you have a team, you can really place people into the right areas. So I'm still not sure if I'm going to make this event this year. Oh, I hope I can swing it. It's such a perfect tie-in with Superconductor's launch, right? The future of work at Freedom X Fest. Superconductors is all about the skills that you need for the future of your career, for the future of work. So it would be a perfect place to go and talk about the book and teach some of the things in the book. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm definitely in this space and really excited that this event is happening. I think it symbolizes that the entire world is actively thinking about community and experiences and the future of work and how to create freedom for ourselves. So it symbolizes moving in the right direction for me. So I hope you'll check it out. It's going to be awesome, I'm certain. And let Estela know what you learned from this episode. Send her a tweet, an Instagram, a message, or tell her in person if you go to the event. Thanks so much for listening today. Now it's your turn to go out there and be adventurous.